Hi, this is Alexcursus, a show where I take a look at some gunpla and see if they are authentic at all. This time we are looking at the HGUC RGM-79 GM in Ecopla. I've shown this kit somewhere last year, but I didn't jump straight into it because I feel like the basic R79 GM deserve its own videos. And not to bore you with two GM in a row, I delay this once again. And like always, I built it already. I will be rating this kit based on saga, style, action, gimmick, and absence. Style. Style is how much does the model kit resembles its counterparts in the anime, manga, games, lawbooks, or other media. And since we have looked at this kit before, or at least the base type of this kit before, this sculpt is the design is very faithful to Okawara's design with a bit of modern sensibility, at least for the early 2000s sensibility. And this kit really conveys how easy or how cheap, how simple GM really is. For the Ecopla, all the color separations are gone, replaced with just the black plastic. Except for the visor, which they still use a transparent green because they do have a bit of sculpture for that visor. And because the black Ecopla tend to suck all the light out, I add a bit of metallic paint at the back to show you that sculpt. Now, I had also recently looked at the Pluton Gundam, which have partial Ecopla, and over there the Ecopla treat me rather well. All the knobs are relatively easy to clean off. The same goes for GM here. Just take a look. You can still see the knobs. They would reflect differently from the rest of the plastic, but in general they are no worse, if not better, than most regular gunpla. What I really want to show here is on the left shoulder, I actually mess up when I clip it out of the frame, but I didn't even, I use no sanding. Clipper and a blade is all I use, and yeah, it's relatively clean. And yeah, I didn't even use paint. Where are the parts? There you go. On the forearm here, there is a bit of whitening that just appears, and it doesn't actually look too different from regular reflection. So it's not perfect. You do have some whitening here and there, but that is before I use any paint to fix it. So if I put in any paint, they would blend in fairly well. There are some other downside for casting the whole thing in black, namely the camera's white balance just goes out of whack, obviously, and in low light condition you can't really see the details, and with enough light you will see the artifact in the casting, like on the front skirt here. But these artifacts are present in regular plastic as well, just less noticeable. When you have multiple colors, a lot of sculpts going around, and doesn't require a strong lighting or strong white balance to see, you wouldn't notice the artifacts quite easily. Another disadvantage is obviously showing how old the part separations are. Particularly bad on the legs because they are left-right clamp instead of front and back. So they are pretty prominent compared to the arms. But this also goes to show how well the upper body of GM is with the single piece casted shoulder, bicep, the forearm. They are left and right, but not entirely unexpected. And coming back to the top, yes, you can see the mold line on the one piece shoulder, but again, that is me not doing anything or not doing much. So the Ecopla reduced the kit down to basically monochrome, or even not even monochrome. Monochrome sort of have black and white and some gray. It's just all black now. That I think is some deduction for the appeal of Gunpla in the first place, because they are multicolor kits that you can easily get away without doing much. But at the same time, if you are planning to do some, say, spec op type of the model, it's not a bad start. And because the HGUC GM is such an early yet very well figured out kit, it is not hard to fix, the seam lines, basically seam lines and mold line as well. With the Ecopla, even with a single color, the details are still quite visible, so long there is enough light. Of course, the advantage of not having enough light is you can't see all the artifacts and seam lines. Either way, there are advantage and disadvantage from going all black. Basically, is the OH and the unfortunate truth of recycling multicolor plastic into a single slush. The only sensible color would be black or some very dark brown. It would be nice if Bandai did this in, say, dark brown and black, but this is pretty much Bandai's first try in Ecopla, where they just put in the Ecopla in their existing molds. For authenticity, that we don't have, a night color, dark color spec of GM. So, there's no points getting from it, or even points deduction for not being faithful to the source material. Oh, actually, a bit more points for style. They still give you the hatch color correction sticker. This is a joke. That is not important at all. What's nice for style is they include this water decal sheets for you. Gunpla, Hobby Center, Bandai, and then basically the 5, or including black, the 6 color they usually cast in, or the 6 basic painting colors. Oh, another point for style is Bandai cast the polycap in black. They don't have to. They could have just throw in regular gray polycap, but for a consistent look, they decide to throw in this special black polycap sprue. So yes, the limitation of Ecopla really bring down the style of the kit, but I think Bandai genuinely made some effort into both this kit and the Ecopla concept, and I just love the sculpt. So I think I'll keep the style at 8. Next is action. Action isn't just how many articulations are in the kit, but how useful those articulations are. Not great by today's standards, but still pretty decent and law accurate. Mobile suit in 1 year war shouldn't be superhuman-like in their movement, so having the forearm just going 90 degrees is fine. What I didn't do in the original, that the front skirt actually have some extra length in the peg, so in combination with the extra waist joint that you can extend, you can actually have GM kick up to 80 degrees. And in combination with the, while limiting but still existing, double joint knee joint, GM can actually kneel a bit. Maybe not with the shield weighting it down, but otherwise it can still do a somewhat natural kneeling pose if you play around with it. But again, compared to what we get today, this is rather static. So I will give it a B for action. Next up is Gimmick. Gimmick is usually the weapons on the mobile suits and sometimes some extra functionality on board. Like the original GM, there is an extra waist side-to-side articulation in addition to the swivel. And then the beam saber hilt can be pulled out of the backpack, but it has no socket for the blade. That would come as a separate piece. The backpack has a socket to attach the shield, and the shield is on a ball joint, on another attachment carrier that give you more freedom. So you can drop it down lower, or even pull it a bit more forward when you try to get GM protecting more of itself while, going straight forward, or adjusting the height of the shield so that GM is looking through the vision slit. And again, in the original Mobile Suit Gundam series, GM just have the beam spray gun as their ranged weapon, and that's the one that GM gets, and it does have a trigger finger coming with it. There's an open palm that you can use as a support hand for the beam spray gun, or reaching for the beam saber. You also get universal fists that can hold on to most other weapons and tools if you do have them. So gimmick wise, while there are some extra options that the law books given to GM later, in the show or in most media, it just have the beam spray gun, beam saber, shield, and the falcons on the head. That's GM. And this kit, like the regular release, have all of them. Don't think I should mark it down lower than an A. Last but probably most important for this kit is absence. Obviously it would be absence in color and absence in availability. That absence in color with modern Ecopla technology can be mitigated a bit, but for the availability, as hard as Japan work on their recycling effort, getting a commercially viable amount of recycled plastic is a challenge. Bandai, I think, have a good strategy about it. In this case, this kits is for events or hobby center, namely Gundam base, to promote, the idea of the increased sustainability. So on that front, I guess, unlike Plutine, which Bandai used not quite as much of it, that allow it to be a general release. Where for this kit, Bandai is really trying to show people mechanically Ecopla is as good, if not better, than the plastic they have been using. They just, at least back then, couldn't figure out a way to have a bit more color variations, but there is a very, very, very good sentiment about doing this, because the kit itself does not miss anything. Bandai went out of their way to provide extra efforts to promote the more sustainable plastic. It's just unfortunate that when Bandai started doing this, or this kit wasn't created as a commercially viable Ecopla product. The next challenge which Bandai do take on these days is to create more different environmental friendly plastics that, for example, could be used in different colors, not just limited to black. Yeah, as just a black and using Ecopla for a Gundam kit, I will say this only gets a B, but because Bandai is doing this for concept proving, it should be an 8. However, like P-Bandai kits, this is a limited item, so I have to keep it back at B. The Ecopla version of HGUC RGM-79 GM managed to maintain the style not quite as well as the original release due to its lack of color, but the Ecopla doesn't make it look worse. And black is kinda cool as always, so it gets an A in style. For action, it's a rather old kit. The Ecopla doesn't drag it down, but it is showing its age, so I will keep it at B. For Gimmick, GM having more than just fits hands, and then a beam saber and a beam saber hilt that you can put at the backpack that is removable, and then there is a extra hip joint that you can use to move side to side. That is both authentic and a bit of extra surprise on the Gimmick front, so I will give it an 8. As for absence, there are pros and cons for using Ecopla. There is a good sentiment, but at the same time, sacrifices are made so that the kit wasn't quite as authentic as its original counterpart. But I think what really marks it down is the availability, so it gets a B. So the verdict for the Ecopla version of HGUC RGM-79 GM is A for style, B for action, A for gimmick, and B for absence. Overall, because it is a cheap small box, if you come across one of those Gundam events that include this guy, I would recommend grabbing one. Even if you don't like GM, you might want a GM lying around at the background as a casualty. Thanks for watching, see you next time.